Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for another Foundation Gratituesday webinar. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Nicole Hankwitz, Major Gift Officer at McLaren Greater Lansing Foundation. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are excited to welcome Tim Daman, who is the President and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. So as many of you already know, McLaren Greater Lansing has made a $600 million investment in our community with the construction of our brand new hospital in Lansing. And we wanted to chat with Tim about that and some other investments in our region. Some quick fun facts before we get started. McLaren's investment is one of the largest here in the city of Lansing, and it's the largest investment McLaren has made in our health system. So we're very proud and excited for that fact. A couple of housekeeping things to cover. Please feel free to ask questions in our Q&A box. I'll keep track of those questions and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. We're also going to have this webinar recorded, so we'll share it on our social media accounts and you'll receive a copy of it in case you want to share it with someone who may be interested in learning more about the foundation or our campaign for care. Lastly, if you want more information about our campaign for care, please feel free to visit our website at mglcampaignforcare.com. With that, I am excited to introduce our Foundation Vice President, Lynn Griffor, and Tim Daman, President and CEO of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Tim, so much for joining us today. I am so excited to talk about the Chamber and our community and all of the wonderful economic development projects that are happening, including the hospital, but certainly not limited to the hospital. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you so much. McLaren Greater Lansing was recognized by the Chamber last week at our Regional Growth Awards ceremony. And as you know, we're very proud of the investment we've made in this community. And we just so appreciate being recognized by the Chamber.
Yeah, you know what, that program, Lynn, has really turned into one of the showcase premier events in our region. And that was the 16th annual core celebration regional growth program that we've hosted. I think over those 16 years, we recognized 85 businesses and more than $4 billion in investments. So it's very rewarding. And I remind people every year that yes, I've been part of all 16 of those, and I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing, but it's been pretty rewarding to see the growth that we've seen here in the region.
Yeah, that's excellent. And you know what a nice time to celebrate businesses in our community. We've all traversed a couple hard years, and none of us were unaffected, but great opportunity to get together and celebrate the successes that this region has had. So
yeah, absolutely.
So with that, Tim, do you mind giving us just kind of a broad overview of the Lansing Regional Chamber?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, this year we celebrated our 120th anniversary, and going back to when the organization was founded back in 1901, it was founded as the Lansing Businessmen's Association, and the purpose was really around economic development, and it was to attract R.E. Olds and Olds Auto Works to Lansing. And so obviously they were successful in doing that, and a lot of historical achievements along the way. And we're pretty proud of all of the accomplishments. And it was actually under R.E. Olds' leadership himself as the president of the Lansing Businessmen's Association in 1912 when the name changed to the Lansing Chamber of Commerce. And then I think somewhere in the 1960s, early 70s, we added regional into that. And so, but yeah, we're pretty proud. And you know what, I'm so fortunate. I was born and raised here in Lansing, and so it's very humbling to, I think, just be part of this organization and working here in my hometown and trying to hopefully, keep things moving forward and bringing new business in and creating jobs and just a good solid economic climate here for our region.
Absolutely. I'm a little bit of a newcomer to the area, and even just in the 2.5, 3 years that I've been connected to the region, there's been tremendous growth, and it's been really fun. It's been really fun to watch. Now, you mentioned you have been part of 16 of the events that we celebrated last week. So have you been with the Chamber 16 years, and have you been in this role?
Yeah, you know what? I just celebrated my 16th anniversary back in September, and here's how good my team is. I didn't really realize it was 16 years until I saw the social media post, and I started getting some text messages from people, one calling me old and others congratulating me for 16 years, but I have. So I've been here 16 years, and in January of 22, I'll start my 13th year in the role as president and CEO. And, again, just very, very fortunate.
Wonderful. Well, can you talk a little bit kind of globally about the growth that you've seen in our community, in our region?
Yeah, so you know what, I tell people this all the time. I could probably talk for the next hour on this. I don't know that people want to hear that, but you know what, it's been nothing short of amazing. And growing up here, I can remember, and if there are attendees that are on the call here today that are from Lansing, they probably remember heading downtown, and when it was very vibrant downtown, and you had Naps downtown and some other retail, and you go down there and you do your school shopping. And so I've seen the region kind of evolve to to maybe we're downtown and kind of taking a little bit of a dip down, and then with Mayor Hollister and the baseball stadium and all the economic revitalization that went along with that, and starting at the chamber back in 2005, and really kind of focusing on and looking at that Michigan Avenue corridor, and you look at some of the large scale projects that have happened along that corridor, and connecting what I kind of call these microcosms and microeconomies we have here around state government. Obviously, our private sector, and within that is healthcare is included in that. And you have higher ed, in East Lansing. But when you think about that growth in the redevelopment of the power plant downtown, and with Accident Fund and AF Group and what they've done there, the FRIB out of Michigan State University, I think it's $750 million Department of Energy lab that's just going to, I think, set the university in our region up for many, many years of new opportunities around technology and business growth. And you think about the insurance and financial services, and even healthcare into that as well, where we've seen so much job growth in the past 10 years. And I think you even look at it today, where we have over $3 billion worth of economic development projects in development right now. And so for a mid-sized market like Lansing, that puts us at the top of the scale nationally when we start thinking about competing with other regions around the country. So, but yeah, it's been amazing to watch the transformation. I think here in our region over the last 10 to 15 years.
Absolutely. Is there a certain area of growth or focus that the chamber has right now?
We hear a lot from our members in the business community, talent, right? It's talent and workforce development. And I tell people all the time, there's so much attention to it now, but this was a pre-COVID issue as well. And this has really kind of been this way for the past probably 5 or 6 years. But with the talent and workforce development, we certainly see a lot of the infrastructure as a business priority. And then we have just overall jobs and economy. And when you look at that, they're not separate, separate efforts and initiatives. They are so interconnected to sustain any sort of economic growth, whether it's here in our region, whether it's nationally, whether it's globally, whatever. These are the issues that I think all businesses are faced with. And when we think about infrastructure, the federal bill just passed a week ago and signed by President Biden yesterday is going to generate, I think, bring like $7 billion into our state for roads and bridges. And so you start thinking about that, it's like another $1 billion for public transportation. So significant opportunities for us here with what and how we continue to kind of build out our infrastructure. I'm a strong believer and advocate that infrastructure will drive economic growth, and what and how we're rebuilding, whether it's Michigan Avenue or, the 127 corridor to really alleviate some of the congestion, and even from a traffic safety standpoint along that 127 corridor as well. So those are a lot of the priorities that that we continue to hear from from the business community, and that's where a lot of our advocacy and economic policy efforts are driven from.
Yeah, I know the talent acquisition, obviously, as you said, is an issue for everyone. One of the benefits that we hope the new hospital campus brings is, we're always trying to recruit talent, the most talented physicians from all across the country to come here to Lansing to practice and to serve our community. And we're really hoping the investment that we're making in our facility and the healthcare campus in general will help attract someone that maybe, would be like, I'm not sure about Lansing, Michigan, even though we know how great it is.
Yeah.
But we are hoping that will help.
Yeah, that's a great, I think, example of this quality of life aspect that we need here. I'll never forget, and this was a number of years ago, we were asked to have lunch with a potential candidate for the FRIB, so for the facility of rare isotope beams, and him and his family were relocating, I want to say, for maybe out west. And one of the questions they had was, well, do you have soccer leagues here for like my kids? And we kind of chuckled, and we're like, really? That's what we're That's the types of questions we're faced with. But it is so true. People are going to uproot and come here from other parts of the country. We have to continue to have those amenities and those quality of life aspects, of which we do have. We have some of the best, and actually, I would say, not only in the country, but I would say even globally with some of the aspects, especially when you start thinking about Michigan State University.
Absolutely, and the trail system is amazing as well for people that like to either walk or kayak. Both the waterways and the walking trails are just beautiful here. I love them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have had a chance, I understand, to tour the new McLaren facility. I'm curious, what were your thoughts?
Well, my gosh, you know what? We were chatting a little bit before we went live here today with the groundbreaking, and I remember that in late 2018. And so for those that have been around in the region since that time, we've obviously seen the construction, start and where it is today, and driving by it hundreds of times. And I just said this to Kirk Gray a week ago, until you're actually standing on that campus, I don't think you really have a perspective of what and how big it is. And, in doing the tour and walking through there, I think, Kirk and our tour guide must have said 4 or 5 or 6 times the input from the McLaren team and the healthcare professionals with what and how the design and construction aspect of that, thinking about patient, comfort and all of those types of things. And so I think the leadership of McLaren should really be commended for, taking all that into account with what and how they've designed and laid out the new hospital. But it's going to be just an amazing asset for our region. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was equally impressed. I saw with my own eyes them actually moving plug, heights based on feedback from clinicians who said, I don't want to bend over that far. I'm doing this all day. I want to be able to, protect my health as well. And that's just a little thing, but it was little things like that every day that we adjusted based on feedback from our staff and physicians. So I think it'll end up being a facility that everyone's very proud of.
I would agree. And I know the region will be proud of it as well.
Good. So I had a couple fun facts that we gathered before we started. Just again, like you said, until you're there, until you're next to the hospital, in the hospital, it's hard to grasp the expansiveness of what we're doing. But we have had more than 3,300 trades on the construction site and almost 1.4 million hours so far to build the hospital. How do those statistics impact our community in your eyes?
Well, when we hear the construction jobs with economic development, I use this term, and it will probably sound a little funny, but I think it's the economic impact of economic development. And so it's the jobs, and it's those spin-off jobs that you have in those construction jobs. And I think, from our trades perspective, when you think about not only the McLaren project, there were simultaneously 2 other $500 million developments that one has been completed now. And well, I think both of the other ones have been completed, but they were around agribusiness with Glanbia up in St. John's, obviously had the McLaren Hospital, and then the Board of Water and Light, and then new Delta Energy Park out in Delta Township. And so when you think about that from the aspect of, our trades, they have obviously been very, very busy. And, the opportunity for those individuals who are living here in our region to be able to work here in our region is great. And I know I probably will get this wrong, but I know Crispin is certainly one of the general contractors for the hospital. And, Crispin obviously headquartered here in downtown Lansing as well. So it's great to see those types of job opportunities and the spinoff. And you know what, it continues to roll on as there's several other $200 million projects that are ongoing right now that are involving our local trades groups as well. And I think the great thing too, and I think that, for all of the attendees and listeners on this, the business labor relationship here, I will tell you hands down in my 16 years here has never been stronger. And we certainly know that when business and labor are aligned and working together, especially here in our region, we can accomplish a lot of things. And so I know that members of my team have worked very hard in building some of the relationships with the trades folks here, and so we just have solid relationships with with the labor groups.
Yeah, absolutely, it makes a huge difference. Well, the McLaren Foundation's role in this new exciting project is we are in the middle of raising $10 million to support the new hospital and the healthcare campus. We've received gifts. Many of the people that we received them from are chamber members. and we certainly so appreciate the support. What is your take on kind of philanthropy in our community and how our community can kind of come together behind collective projects?
Yeah, I think that when I look at that and assess it, our community is so humble, one, and so there's so much of, I think, the philanthropic work happens really under the radar with what and how individuals or businesses are supporting nonprofits and other endeavors. And this is where I always kind of get myself in trouble. I start naming some folks and I miss folks, but I think of like a Jack Davis and what Jack did for the Lansing Symphony Orchestra. And Jack never did that for any type of recognition as much as it was just something he had a passion for. And that's what I found here in our community are those types of individuals that they do things not for the recognition. They don't necessarily want to see their name somewhere as much as they're doing it because they want our region to be a better place to live so that McLaren and others can recruit folks in to come in, you're working in your business and living and contributing to our region. So there's a lot of great work that happens, I think, in that philanthropic area. The Community Foundation is another one, and what and how they're supporting a lot of the nonprofits here in the region as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I find myself having to talk donors into letting us recognize them, which I always, encourage because it can inspire other people to do the same thing. But you're right, very humble and really more about the mission and the impact than about the personal recognition. So I would agree.
Yeah, those good, I guess, Midwestern core values that
right.
Are alive here in Lansing, that's for sure.
That's right. So I almost hate to revisit it because we've all lived it the first time, but 2020 was a really hard year for everyone, certainly for the business community. Can you tell me some of the ways the chamber was able to support its members through the last 18 months?
Yeah, so first of all, I would have to start that by saying that one, my team is flat out amazing, and the work that they did in 2020 and really rallying behind our region was phenomenal. And so we did a great job. But we started in working with a number of our regional partners, and first and foremost, it was with Linda Vale and the Ingham County Health Department. We launched the Relaunch Greater Lansing Rehabilitation Task Force, I think was the name we had. And we had a number of business and community leaders. We had some medical folks involved in that as well. And it was really designed to help our folks understand the resources that were available. I mean, we all remember back that middle part of March into early April, and we were drinking from a fire hose. There was so much information coming from, federally from the states and, billions and billions of dollars being thrown around and whatnot. So it really was providing those resources to help businesses, I think, kind of navigate some of those, those questions and challenges. And then it fast forward to how do folks begin to reopen their business? And so that whole, relaunch, re-engage, refocus, and so forth. And so we did that and quickly evolved into, vaccine guidebooks and what and how to help folks. In fact, that was one of the things with Kirk and McLaren was very, very helpful in helping us pull together the vaccine guidebook that we had and frequently asked questions and so forth. And then that evolved into what we did with the Trusted Voices video series, where we had a number of different community and medical professionals that did some interviews just on the safety aspect of the vaccines as those were being rolled out as well. So, we did a tremendous amount of work, during that time period, but there were a lot of people who did a lot of work in there, but we certainly were and still very, very proud of the resources we had for the business community. And, it continues today. There's still, obviously, with some of the mandates that are pending out there right now in the vaccine with employers and so forth. So there's still a lot of questions to be, to be answered and what and how our business is continuing to kind of build back their capacity as well.
Now, have you just a general kind of anecdotal sense of where businesses are in their recovery? I mean, do you feel like people are feeling like they're on the other side of this or kind of bracing themselves for the next shoe to drop?
You know what? I really do believe that we have seen a very strong economic recovery. In many instances, a lot of our businesses never stopped working. I mean, they were deemed essential and they were able to do that in a very safe environment. And so I get excited when I hear people talk about, businesses and they weren't concerned about their employees' safety and their health. And I think that was the farthest thing from the truth. I mean, they did that, and they did it in a very professional manner. They implemented testing protocols and whatnot, and keeping their people safe. And that wasn't to say that there weren't, cases and there weren't outbreaks and whatnot. But I think that the employers did a great job. So I think that's one thing. And I think secondly, right now, and it's easy to sit here, everyone knows this, the hospitality sector has probably been the one that's been hit the hardest. And I think they're still trying to rebound and figure this out. And a lot of it just comes down to people. I mean, you try to go to grab lunch at a restaurant anywhere around here, and some of them aren't open. They don't open until 4 p.m. And that is strictly all because of being able to find, the workforce. And so I think we continue to see that hospitality sector lagging behind. But I think overall, we've had a strong economic recovery. And so I think that I would anticipate and see that continuing on into 2022.
Good. I like to hear that. Wonderful. Well, since a lot of the people that are interested in the work of the chamber are businesses, I did want to quickly plug a program that the McLaren Foundation is rolling out. It's called the Simple Tree Gift Program. And organizations can choose to participate. We will provide the business with a Christmas tree that they can decorate with items that they then donate to the charity of their choice. So we're also trying to be a good partner. Not only are we, fundraising for the hospital, but we're recognizing the need for all of our nonprofits to be lifted up during this time, and giving the business community an opportunity to kind of help in an easy way. So we've had, I think, close to 10 organizations sign on so far. People are getting really creative with the things that they're collecting and the way that they're decorating their tree. And again, each business chooses their own charity to give back to. So if anyone's interested in that, please reach out to the foundation or check our website, because we do have a business sign-up form there for that.
That's great.
And I think that Nicole just put in the chat the link to do that. Well, Tim, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. I have so enjoyed getting to know this community, and the chamber has played such a vital role in everything that I've seen roll out here in this region. And so I think I will turn it back over to Nicole to see if we have received any questions.
All right. Okay, making sure I'm off mute because I've done that more than once. Okay. Thank you, Lynn and Tim. As someone who's obviously been born and raised here in Lansing, I'm so proud of the growth we're seeing in the community. And, I hope that everybody in our region chooses to stay here, because we can provide the best possible jobs and schools and, community in general. So, and of course, we're obviously proud of the investment that McLaren has made as well. And, obviously, Tim, talking about your wonderful staff, I'm currently part of the Leadership Lansing cohort with your Director of Marketing and Communications, Ashley, and she's absolutely great. I've had a pleasure getting to know her better. So, and I won't hold it against you that you still employ Steve Japping, even though I've known him for such a long time. He's a goof, but he's great at his job. So
you could probably give me a few stories on Steve. So
we'll talk afterwards. Don't worry.
Sure, yeah.
Well, we did have a few questions. I wanted to start with Tim. I know that you had shared with us a graphic that we wanted to let you touch base on. Can you talk a little bit about some of the recent investments in our region?
Oh yeah. This graphic, we talked a lot about the Michigan Avenue corridor, and rightfully so, because we do believe that it is one of the most important economic corridors in our region. And when you start comparing Lansing to a Madison or to an Ann Arbor and whatnot, is like, okay, how do we build out this corridor to kind of be this entertainment type of hub? And so again, you're connecting state government, private sector, higher ed, Lansing to East Lansing, and so forth. But what we quickly realized about a year and a half ago, if you start factoring in this 127 corridor, we had over $1 billion, like $1.5 billion in economic development going down to DART and what DART's done in Mason. And, I don't even want to say very quietly, but it's probably been 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago now, DART acquired Solo Cup for $1 billion. And so when you start thinking about those numbers, that's staggering for here in our region. That a company that's headquartered here is going to acquire another business for $1 billion. But they did that. They've integrated Solo Cup into their operations here. They've expanded. They've built new headquarters. They've built new R&D facilities. So you get in this 127 corridor, and then all of a sudden you have this, $500 million plus hospital campus with McLaren. You go up the 127 corridor to St. John's, you got this $500 million agriculture, technology, manufacturing facility. And along the way, there's Michigan Avenue, again, connecting Lansing to East Lansing, and what the developments are happening along that corridor. You've got the Red Cedar project that's now underway. I think it's a couple $100 million. You had $300+ million development in downtown East Lansing that just transformed that entire look, right? You go down there now and it's like, it's night and day from where we were with that vacant, what we called, it was our version of the Bob. It was that, the old bank building or something along those lines, right? And so, but we had that. And so this map here really kind of tracks a lot of these large scale investments that are happening around the region, and, you know, interconnected along the 127, 96 corridor. And, you know, we're at the center of connecting Southeast Michigan to West Michigan. So we as a region have to figure out how we capture that, you know, economically, and with some of the some of the development there. But you'll see the Board of Water and Light, the new Delta facility, auto owners, $100 million expansion that they're in the process of finishing up now. We just had an opportunity, our policy committee did, we toured the state capitol, the Heritage Hall development and the renovations at the state capitol. That's our #1 tourist destination in our region, is the state capitol. And so we, along with other folks, supported this $40 million Heritage Hall, which is going to be kind of like a little bit of a welcome center for all the school kids kind of coming through from a tour standpoint, be able to do it in a little bit more safe environment, and actually be able to kind of go into an auditorium and theater and get a little bit of the history of the Capitol and so forth. But yeah, so we're happy. I tell people all the time, I could probably talk for an hour just off of this map here, but it's great to kind of see and capture this. And this kind of gets us it may not get us to that $3 billion, but it's pretty close with what we have here in these developments. So.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, just a couple of other things, you know, some fun questions that came in. You know, what are some of your most memorable moments at the chamber? You know, you've been there for 16 years. You've probably seen some stuff.
And so, you know, Nicole, you mentioned Leadership Lansing, and that question came up one of the first years that we had Leadership Lansing, and I have an opportunity to speak to the group every year. And I was stumped. I'm like, you know what? That's a great question. I don't know. There's so many great moments, but I thought about it, and I went back at the end of that Leadership Lansing class, and I said this. It was by far, it was the first Lansing Promise dinner that we hosted, and the chamber helped Lansing Promise the first couple of years we did that, and we had Magic Johnson come in to speak. And I will tell you, I was on spring break with my family in Arizona, and we're driving through the mountains in Arizona, and I'm on the phone back here with some folks, and they're like, Tim, we got like 100 people registered for this. We're not sure if Magic's coming. We're 2 weeks out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to cancel this. There's no way we're going to be able to pull this off. But we did. Magic, you know, confirmed, he committed. We were able to get, I don't know, 600 or 700 people there that night. And as Magic was speaking and reminiscing about his days and growing up in Lansing and Main Street and Everett High School and all of that, he started pulling out checks. And when the tally got there, I think we reached, I think it was $750,000 of checks he had collected. And he said at that point in time, he goes, well, I'm going to donate the last $250,000 to get us to $1 million. And that by far of the 16 years is without question, one of the highlights of everything we've done here, to say that we raised $1 million at the Lansing Center that night for the Lansing Promise. And it really was the jumpstart and kickstart that the Promise needed to really begin making a significant impact in the lives of a lot of kids graduating from from the Lansing schools. So.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's probably way too much detail and whatnot with that, but I had to get the background in there because I'm out here in Arizona. I'm in Arizona thinking to myself, I said, we got to cancel this. We can't. This is going to be it's going to fail, but certainly didn't do that.
No, that's amazing. That's got my fundraising mind going right now. So, Lynn, we had a question for you. What can chamber members do to support the foundation?
Well, we've got a couple things coming up. I mentioned the Simple Tree program, which isn't really supporting us, it's supporting the community, but certainly would love to get some more participation in that. And then I would love to see every chamber member attend the grand opening gala for the new hospital, which is going to be January 29th. The The theme is Passport to Care around the world. It's going to have international food, live entertainment, and probably the only chance you'll ever have to have a party in a hospital. So January 29th, we'd love to see everyone come to attend that. And then, of course, ongoing, if there are chamber members or others in the community that are interested in taking a tour of the hospital, reach out to Nicole. We do have some, they're getting limited because we're getting closer and closer to opening, but we do have some opportunities to see the hospital from kind of a behind the scenes perspective.
Great. We did have another question just come in. Lynn, you're probably best to answer this one. With so many businesses struggling with staffing and lags in supply chains, is the new hospital still on track to welcome first patient in March of 2022?
We are. So we were very lucky in that a lot of the purchasing happened up front. And so we were able to lock into the supply chain and the pricing and all of that early on. And so we haven't had a huge issue. Now, certainly with staffing, we've seen that from a construction perspective, it's been a challenge. And there was a couple kind of hairy times with supplies where we may or may not have hit every Home Depot in the Lansing region, but those were small hiccups, and we are still scheduled to open in March of 2022. We have an hour by hour countdown here because it's really overwhelming to think about moving two complete healthcare campuses to a new one, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do it on time.
Awesome. Well, just one final question, Tim, for you. Our CEO talks a lot about in other markets that he's been in, the investment, the economic development that comes in with a major investment like McLaren. What do you see in the next 5 years, not only obviously for the area around our new campus, but obviously our region as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And you're right. And Kirk does that, and I believe was in Fort Wayne when a couple of the new hospitals or built a new hospital down there. And if you just drive down I-69 as you're going through Fort Wayne, you kind of see that economic growth that's happened around there. And so I think a couple of things that come to mind is the partnership with MSU, I think is so critical. And I think it was really one of the first high profile, high level partnerships with MSU around some healthcare here. And so to have them in that partnership, I think is very, very critical and very important as we move forward. I think the other piece too, and this is something that the Lansing Economic Area Partnership lead, Bob Terzeis and his team are working on, is this MedTech economic development strategy. And so that is really, how do you, around medical technologies, around life sciences, and around biotech, building out some economic development strategies with that. And so there's a lot of work right now in this MedTech space and trying to kind of grow that economy. And you start thinking about companies like, Niowave, and you think about Neogen, Emergent Biosolutions, and at the center of that is not only McLaren, but it's Sparrow as well. And I think when we look at our region and having two strong healthcare systems, I think is critically important for our region, a region of our size. We need that. And so I think that there's endless opportunities. And I think we are just probably in a very early stage right now of what that looks like. But I think everyone sort of envisions that MSU research park out there in Jolly and Dunkel, that you're going to see a lot of ancillary type of services and other medical type of developments that will be created here in probably the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow, that's great. That's really exciting. Well, Tim, thank you again. Just a couple last minute things. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention our grand opening gala that we are going to have on January 29th. This will be the first opportunity to get in once the hospital is complete for a sneak peek. You can purchase your tickets or check out our sponsorships at our website, mglcampaignforcare.com. And you can also get information about the Simple G program that Lynn was mentioning earlier as well. And then next month, we are going to bring this webinar series full circle. We started out with Lynn interviewing our president and CEO, Kirk Ray, with an update on the construction earlier this year. And now in December, we're going to interview Kirk and Pete Kramer from Kramer Management Group as we wrap up construction next month. So don't miss that update, and you'll hear about some very interesting things about how we are going to move our two current hospitals into this new healthcare campus in March. So you can register for that today at mglcampaignforcare.com. Thank you again, Tim and Lynn. Happy Tuesday, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.